And a tiger shark. It was an adventure.
All right, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning on what all of us standing here believe is the most pressing topic of the moment. As many of you know, as you have seen in your own reporting and reporting across the nation, fentanyl is a drug that has been increasing in availability throughout our nation and in our state here in Florida. We see this not only in the numbers that we are seizing, we also tragically see this in the number of lives that are lost. And Florida is no different than any other state that is grappling with this drug. And the reason the partners standing with me today are here is to implore Floridians to be aware of the toxicity of fentanyl and its increasingly availability in our state, and the potential tragic consequences of that combination. And we also implore Floridians to recognize that this is now a fight that Floridians must take up within their homes, within their neighborhoods, and they have to partner with law enforcement to fight back against this drug. Floridians fighting fentanyl has never been more important. In July alone, we saw a record amount of fentanyl seized at our southern border. It was enough fentanyl to kill the United States population in 1 month. It is the highest month on record for the amount of fentanyl that was seized. Last year, we lost more Floridians to fentanyl than made up the entire population of almost half our cities. So almost half our cities had smaller populations than the amount of people that we lost to fentanyl just in Florida last year. Not only is this drug toxic, potent, we know that it is flooding into our state at record levels. And so we are engaging Floridians now. We need you to join us. This is a combined fight. And how do we do this? We start by urging parents to have those conversations with their children. They may think that they're getting from a friend an Adderall, an Oxy, you name it. But counterfeit pills are being laced with fentanyl at record rates. One of the most recent statistics I saw is nearly 50% of counterfeit pills will be laced with fentanyl. One pill will kill your child. I am joined up here by someone who tragically lost his child to fentanyl. There is no time to wait. Have these difficult conversations. Do not take an illicit substance. If you were taking an illicit substance previously, and you may have thought you could do that and would not have faced death, you are playing Russian roulette with your life now with fentanyl. Talk to your children. We are seeing rainbow-colored pills designed to attract children being seized all over our country. And here in Florida, FHP has seized green powdered fentanyl. And as we saw with so many other substances that were geared to attract and addict our children, this is no different. If you're struggling with an opioid addiction and you have put off getting help for some time, now is the time. We have put together a resource where you can go. It is very easy. You can match your location, your payment ability, the type of substance abuse treatment you will need and that is recommended. We just announced this. It's called treatmentatlas.org. This is a Florida-sponsored resource. If you are a family, if you yourself are struggling, and you have been putting off getting help, now is the time. It is deadly to wait any longer. And let me be very clear. The Florida law enforcement partners standing behind me, whether they are state law enforcement agents, whether they are county or city law enforcement agents, if you are peddling fentanyl in our communities, we will have zero tolerance for you. Because what you are doing will likely kill people, and has, and is. And it's not just the folks that you think want these drugs, it is having unattended consequences. As a sheriff will tell you, we are losing infants. We are affecting our first responders who are overdosing when they respond. We are seeing mass events now where law enforcement is rolling up and folks that have ingested fentanyl are unconscious, some that come to their aid overdose, never even intending to take drugs. There will be a zero tolerance policy if you are peddling fentanyl in our communities. And we have already seen state attorneys go after those who have peddled fentanyl and sold fentanyl, and deaths have occurred and they have gone after them for homicide offenses. Be on alert. We are stopping the death toll in Florida, and we are coming after those that are trafficking fentanyl. And lastly, I implore Floridians, join us on this fight. As Attorney General, I have tried to make it increasingly easy for Floridians to be part of the solution in our state, and they are. We have started a tip line called Star Tips anywhere in the state. If you have information about people peddling fentanyl or selling fentanyl, if you have information about fentanyl being stored anywhere, call Star Tips. You don't even have to give them your name. Be a part of the solution. Be a part of a healthy community. Be a part of saving lives and helping these people do their important jobs. If you want to be more proactive and engaged, by all means, call 911. And lastly, I will say, and what we met about today and spent some time on, that the folks behind me here are unfortunately left dealing with chaos and harm and devastation and loss of life in their communities because fentanyl is increasingly available throughout this nation. It is increasingly available in Florida. And while other substances that have previously been considered weapons of mass destruction, chemical or biological agents, are in scarce supply because we have targeted them. We have gone after them, not just with traditional narcotics agencies. We have enlisted Department of Defense and the Office to Counter Weapons of Mass Destruction. And that must happen now as it relates to fentanyl. This drug is highly toxic. As we have seen, it can cause mass effects and casualties. We received information today on how this can be done with the amount of fentanyl available right now, today. And the folks behind me, many come from cities that deal with stadiums, that deal with large gatherings. In Florida, you know we are no stranger to large entertainment events. And the time has come for us to take this drug seriously. We cannot treat this as any traditional narcotic has been treated in the past. And we will do everything within our power to go after those manufacturing and transporting this deadly substance into our country and into our state. And we need to do that by classifying this drug a weapon of mass destruction. And so the partners here with me today have seen the effects of this in their communities. They want to stress we are in a new era. DEA has advised this is one of the dangerous drugs they have ever seen. And we can do something about it. Floridians can help us do something about it. Get treatment, help law enforcement, report when you have information, report suspicious activity. If you see something at a large event that looks suspicious, say something. And we appreciate our media partners who took the time to be here today to help us get this word out to Floridians. And I'm going to bring up with me the host of today's event, Chad Cronister.
Thank you, General Moody. Thank you for your tireless and continued dedicated efforts in helping us safeguard our Florida communities. Today's meeting was extremely beneficial as we looked at the dangers of fentanyl, some of the trends that we're seeing, and some of when I talk about dangerous, the dangers that fentanyl poses to all of us in a community, not just addicts. At the same time, discuss some of the trends that we're seeing, some of the current trends, some of the trends that we're seeing not just in the Tampa Bay area, but throughout the state, or individuals, addicts, innocent addicts who believe that they're taking an illicit drug, whether it's methamphetamine, cocaine, or young adults who believe they're going to ingest MDMA and have a fun evening. And it's being laced with fentanyl. So not only are we gaining more addicts, we're gaining more overdoses. These poor individuals that are searching for more of a euphoric high, more of a hallucinogenic effect, are becoming addicts, and they're becoming more victims of overdoses, what we're seeing. Another trend that we're seeing is because of it's being placed in so many illicit drugs, we're having too many infants and small children who are coming into contact with this dangerous fentanyl, and they're overdosing. We had a 15-month-old baby who lost her life because her mother left her illicit drug unattended in her purse, and the infant was able to come into contact with it. Not ingest it, simply lost her life because she came into contact with it. So when the Attorney General says, and I certainly would never take the creative flexibility to speak on behalf of the other 66 sheriffs, if you continue to pursue strictly for profitable purposes to victimize our Florida communities, we as sheriffs will make sure you feel the entire weight of the criminal justice system until we can stop you and put an end to this pandemic. Thank you, General Moody. And now I'd like to introduce an individual who's extremely passionate and extremely informed when it comes to fentanyl. Families Against Fentanyl founder, James Jim Rothold. Jim?
Hi, I'm Jim Rao with Families Against Fentanyl, and it's our objective to have fentanyl declared a weapon of mass destruction by the United States government. We have the support of various former officials, including the former head of the DEA, Utam Dillon. Jim Carroll is here, former head of he was the drug czar for President Trump. And we see that fentanyl is invading our society at an alarming rate. This designation will allow us to cut off the supply of fentanyl and put an end to this. This is not sustainable, and it's not tolerable. Fentanyl is a chemical that can be dispersed not only through the illicit drug supply, but it has the potential to enter the food, water, and air supply. The amount of material being seized is indicative of stockpiling. This material has become so prevalent that people are being killed just as they were speaking. Young children and babies are being killed by incidental contact. That shows the amount of amazing growth that this has gone through. At this time, we're asking for the government to please recognize it as the weapon of mass destruction that it is and get a coordinated response. We see this as a imminent threat to our society. The amount and the lethality of it continues to grow. We're seeing doubling in locations of deaths. It became the #1 killer of 18 to 45-year-olds, and that demographic is getting wider. We're seeing more and more infanticide, small children being killed, and this is being recognized by the Council for Combating Synthetic Opioids as the slow motion weapon of mass destruction. It's taking $1 trillion a year out of our economy. It's creating an enormous well of grief and crime. The people who are becoming addicted are losing their free will to their addiction. And so I thank you very much today for helping and your attention, and I really appreciate AG Moody and this whole team here. They will get it done.
Attorney General Moody, thank you for welcoming all of us here today and for your extraordinary efforts to bring much-needed attention to our nation's unprecedented fentanyl overdose crisis. And I also want to thank all law enforcement here today working every day to save the lives of Floridians from these deadly drugs. The Mexican drug cartels, aided and abetted by the governments of Mexico and China, are poisoning hundreds of Americans every single day, not just with fentanyl, but also with heroin, methamphetamine, and cocaine. And it's time to demand that the Biden administration take immediate and decisive action to stop this carnage. So as the former leader of the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, I completely support Attorney General Moody's call to declare fentanyl a weapon of mass destruction. This will not only allow the federal government to unlock unused and underused resources to stop illicit fentanyl before it ever reaches our borders, but it will also lead to other important considerations, such as whether it's time for the United States to designate Mexico as a narco state and Mexican drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. Designating Mexican drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations would provide federal prosecutors with much-needed new prosecutorial weapons in the fight against drug trafficking. And designating Mexico as a narco state will hold the government of Mexico responsible for coddling and harboring the narco terrorists who are poisoning hundreds of our citizens every single day. It's time to take decisive and aggressive action to save lives, and that's exactly what Attorney General Moody and all members of law enforcement here today are doing by calling for fentanyl to be declared a weapon of mass destruction. Thank you, Attorney General Moody, for your leadership on this critical issue and for your tireless dedication to saving lives. And I'd like to introduce Jim Carroll, former drug czar under the Trump administration.
Thank you, Udom. Thank you, General Moody, for inviting me and allowing me to come back to Florida. I spent a lot of time here as the U.S. drug czar because I saw the work that was being done, and I saw what you heard earlier, which is the compassion that General Moody has for the Floridians, compassion for the people that have an addiction. But what we have also heard, and let there be no doubt, there is a passion for going after the people that are peddling this poison in our communities. We know that it can work. When I was running the agency National Drug Control Policy and Udom was running the DEA, with the work being done by law enforcement and the work being done to stem the flow of drugs into our country, we saw a decrease in deaths for the first time in 30 years. Now, sadly, what we're seeing is the highest record of fatal overdoses, really poisonings, that are happening here in Florida and across the country. But we know this can work. We know there are solutions. And one of those solutions is what General Moody talked about here today. We're thankful to have an Attorney General who understands that the impact of declaring a weapon of mass destruction for fentanyl has the ability to go after those people whose only addiction is to greed. They do not care about the wrath of death that they leave behind. For Jim and Val's son, Tom, who lost his life, and for the thousands of others. We're now losing an American citizen every 5 minutes. So we can bring back this downturn by the work done by General Moody, and I'm honored to stand here with the men and women of law enforcement in Florida today. Together, we can end this. Thank you, General Moody, for allowing me to come.
Good morning. I'm Pinellas County Sheriff Bob Gualtieri, and I can tell you at a ground level, at the street level, is fentanyl is a poison that is wreaking havoc in our communities. In the last 2 years in Pinellas County alone, and the Sheriff's Office is the largest law enforcement agency in the county, but we're only one of 10 agencies in the county. In the last 2 years alone, we've seized 6,000 grams of fentanyl on the streets of Pinellas County. That's 6 kilograms of fentanyl, and to put it in even simpler terms, it's about 13 pounds of fentanyl. It takes about 1 gram of fentanyl to kill about 300 people. About 1 million people in Pinellas County. So you put all that together and it means that it could kill everybody in Pinellas County 3 times over. So it's serious and it's out there on the streets. We respond to, on a monthly basis, about 200, that's just us, okay, not the 10 other law enforcement agencies. We respond to about 200 overdose calls, and about 30 of those result in death. Now, there's a blessing and a curse when it comes to this, and it's called Narcan. And Narcan is a drug that you can use that reverses the effects of the overdose immediately, and it saves lives. And between the Sheriff's Office and EMS in Pinellas County, we're administering about 200 Narcan administrations a month. Now think about that. So we're responding to 200 calls of overdoses, 30 of those are deaths, and then on top of that, another 200 that we're administering Narcan to. So if it wasn't for Narcan, how many people would be dead in Pinellas County? A whole lot. And we're losing this battle. And one of the best ways I can tell you that we're losing this battle, that we know it, is because it's all about supply and demand. When supply is high, that means the prices are going down. When supply is down, that means the prices are going up. And we've seen a decrease, and a steady decrease. 1 gram of fentanyl on the streets of Pinellas County goes for about $80. Earlier this year, it was going for about $115. It's because the border is porous, it's flowing over the border, it's coming from Mexico, it's going up to Atlanta, and that's the route, and it's coming down here to Florida, and it's killing people every day. So we've got to do something about it. We've got to do it differently. We've got to do it better. And attacking it at its source is the way we have to attack it, because we're not going to be able to solve this here domestically in the United States. So we support the effort of everybody here today to make a difference and to do it better and to go after it at its source. Now I'll introduce Pasco County Sheriff Chris Nacco.
Thank you, Sheriff. And on behalf of General Moody and everyone here, our condolences go out to all the family members that lost somebody. And in Pasco County, from 2019 to now, 929 families lost somebody, a brother, a sister, a loved one. And so as we talk about today, the issues, and if you think about our country as a house, America is a house. And unfortunately, our doors are open or wide open, and people are bringing in this poison that we call fentanyl and other drugs into our house. We have to be able to stop it. And unfortunately, the federal agents that are supposed to be out there aren't having the ability to stop it. So they come into different rooms. And our room is called Florida. And our room, our law enforcement partners, we will absolutely go out there and we will enforce the law. And we know that if you sell drugs that kill somebody, we will charge you with homicide. And our state attorneys will prosecute it for you. But at the same time, we have to understand why they come into our room. In our room, there are many different people. One of them is we have many restaurants and a lot of construction. And according to Florida Magazine, Florida restaurant workers are 3 times the national average for overdosing. The only group higher than that are construction workers. The other one, too, is General Moody spoke about family members having a role. You may not be on patrol with deputies, you might be investigators or prosecutors, but you have a role. If you know somebody in Generation Z, you have to help them out. Generation Z are children born between 1997 and 2012. They are twice as likely than the older population to battle depression. They're 3 times as likely to believe they're better off dead. And they're 1 in 4 know somebody who has an addiction issue. So we implore you, reach and get help. As General Moody has proposed, reach out. If you have a loved one, reach out to them, tell them they need help. We need to get them help. And as law enforcement officers, we're going to prosecute and we're going to arrest those that are trying to kill them. With that, I'd like to introduce my friend and new Florida Department of Law Enforcement Commissioner, Mark Glass.
Thank you, Sheriff. Just a few short days ago, we mourned the loss of 2001 deadliest attack on America with planes hitting two buildings, the World Trade Center. Close to 3,000 lives were lost on that day. We just mourned that just a few days ago. But just according to our medical examiner's report, we've had over 3,000 people die of fentanyl in Florida in 6 months, and this was last year's data, from January to June. We're on a rise now with those dates, with that projection now for more deaths. Over 3,000 people, what was lost on the Twin Towers is lost in Florida every 6 months, and it's on the rise. My background was in national intelligence and counterterrorism. Weapons of mass destruction, as the General just spoke about, let me give you the definition from the federal government. A weapon of mass destruction is a nuclear, radiological, chemical, biological, or other device that is intended to harm a large number of people. I just gave you that from their website on DHS, who I used to work for. This is porous going over our borders, coming from China, coming through all areas to the United States. And we have a problem. In 5 years, our labs have seen an increase of 154% of submissions from law enforcement of drugs. We can't sustain that as a state. That's why it's imperative to take what these gentlemen, men and women up here, has been talking to you about our problems we have in our state with drugs and our family members. This is going to touch each and every one of you in your families. I have family. You have family. And we are serious about trying to find them help. The General has made it very easy for family members to help find your family member help to get them off this opioid addiction, because the majority of the fentanyl is coming through the opioid addiction. But we also call on our federal government, close that border. And ladies and gentlemen, we're a water border state. And China, where we know this stuff is coming from, has already made deals with Dominican Republic of open trade. So you got to start thinking about how does that get into our state. So I implore you at this point, go home, talk to your families, use these type of resources that we have. We'll be posting them up, General Moody, on FDLE's website to help you. You can go to the FDLE website. We'll have these there for you. But please, I implore you, take action as a Florida citizen. Help us stop this. Thank you, General.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Keith Touchberry, the police chief for the city of Fellsmere, located in Indian River County, and I'm also the president of the Florida Police Chiefs Association. On behalf of our association, I'd like to thank General Moody for the roundtable discussion that we had this morning and this press conference so that we can speak to our communities directly about how we feel about this crisis situation that we are currently in. The Florida Police Chiefs Association is the third largest state chiefs association in the country, and our members stand committed to fighting this crisis to the very end. We are here protecting the lives of Floridians, and we're working together to do that. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about municipal police departments for a second. There are an estimated 18,000 police departments in the United States of America, and of those police departments, 50% are 10 officers or less. And that's a staggering statistic for some to swallow, because the media would have you believe that most police departments are these large municipal agencies. In the state of Florida, the average municipal police department is approximately 50 officers. We are ground zero in our communities for fighting this epidemic and doing everything we can to protect our state. And there's an old saying, an old principle in policing, and it something goes like this: the community are the police, and the police are the community. This initiative, Floridians Fighting Fentanyl, is an example of that old axiom. It's the old see something, say something. We cannot do this alone. We need our citizens to recognize that we are in a crisis situation and that there is help available. And certainly we acknowledge those who are suffering from some type of behavioral health problem and are victims in their addiction. But we also have to remember that they are helped along the way. It would surprise you to know that the average drug dealer is not a chemist. They are a thug, and they are preying on the innocent lives of all Americans in our nation. And so we have to focus on prosecuting them, making a strong deterrence to these crimes, and taking the fight to where these crimes are occurring. And it begins with our border. So again, we thank Attorney General Moody for convening this meeting, and we look forward to great success with this initiative. I'd like to now turn the microphone back over to General Moody.
Thank you so much again. As you can tell, whether it's our chiefs of police, our sheriffs, our state law enforcement agents, we want to impress upon Floridians that we are in a time of crisis as it relates to fentanyl. The potency, coupled with its sheer availability, the mass amounts of fentanyl now in our state, oftentimes produced and manufactured to be attractive to our younger populations. It is a time now we ask you to please pay attention, understand the substance is deadly, speak not only with your families, your loved ones, but within your communities, and join us in our efforts to protect Floridians. This is Florida fighting fentanyl. And we will continue, as leaders of this state, to try and push back and cut off the supply that unfortunately has left the folks behind me dealing with the aftermath and the devastation. But they need your help. Your communities need your help. Your young people need your help. If you have any information about fentanyl, its location, anyone trafficking fentanyl, please call **Tips or 911. If you see anything suspicious at mass events, please call the reporting line at FLA SAFE. It's very important that we work together to fortify Florida so that we are a stronger, safer state. And again, I thank those of you that took so much time this morning to be here with us for this important topic. We'd be happy, any of us would be happy to take any questions you might have at this time.
General, I'd like to ask you, because Sheriff Naco alluded to this a little bit. Here in Tampa, there was a case of a young cheerleader at Plant High School who passed away after an overdose. The prosecutors here went after her dealer and charged him with causing her death, and because of their actions, the prosecutors, they were able to get an enhanced penalty, longer prison sentence. Would you like to see more prosecutors use existing statutes to go after dealers for causing these fentanyl deaths?
Of course, not only should prosecutors look at the laws, how they have been amended to allow for more aggressive tactics to go after those that are killing people with fentanyl. I think you will start to see more of those around the state. We're certainly making sure that there is training available to other prosecutors, and as one is successful and they're more familiar with those amendments to the statutes and the laws that are available to them, I think you'll see more of that. Yes, sir. Right here.
There's an article that alluded to the candy-colored pills that you're speaking of. I actually read it like last week. I don't know if it was seized at the Texas border or Florida, but just for parents out there, are there any unique markers that they can potentially identify this? Especially because it's a little scary because, Halloween's right around the corner, and that, I wouldn't hope no one's that evil, but you can't trust nobody nowadays, so could you talk about what can help them identify that?
That is a great question, and what I heard from you in that statement, I would hope no one is that evil. I wish I could assure you that was not the case. I am here to tell you there are evil people that are peddling what they know to be deadly substances, fentanyl, as it is being poured into this country and disseminated throughout our nation. They know it will kill people, and they are putting it in counterfeit pills. And you are correct. These look like and are now being called rainbow pills because they are disguised in rainbow colors, which attract children. They have been identified and seized in 18 states thus far. We know here in Florida, we've seen green-colored fentanyl. I am warning parents, I am a mother of a young school-age child. I have had these difficult conversations in my own home. And if you have hesitated, if you think your child is too young, you haven't wanted to do this yet, do it tonight. Because it is in almost now 50% of counterfeit pills, a deadly amount of fentanyl. There are parents right now in Florida who have lost their young children. Their young children weren't addicts. They just got a friend. Either they saw it online, they got a pill online, or they got it from a friend. And they have died as a result. It is one of the reasons we called this press conference today. I am so glad that you asked that question. The time is now to have the conversation with your children. This is not just some fun thing you do with your friends. Do not take a pill from a friend without understanding that that one pill can kill you, and we don't know what's in it. We are seizing right now in Florida fentanyl in large amounts, and at the same time we seize the fentanyl, we're seizing pill presses. Think about that. So that was a great question and so important to share with your folks in your communities. Well, as you heard from multiple people who were at this podium, they said they will have no tolerance, and they will work with their deputies or their officers to ensure that those that are trafficking fentanyl, selling fentanyl in communities, are held accountable. We want to make sure that those that are addicted understand that help is available. We want to make sure they can get help easily and they know where to go, which is why we now have a resource called treatmentatlas.org. And I'll repeat that. We just announced it, treatmentatlas.org. Start there. But no, the next step is these folks want those traffickers out of this state. You are not welcome in Florida. And so we want the community, call Star Tips, call 911, report any person you know is trafficking fentanyl, or if you know where it is located. If we can get our hands on that before it gets into the communities, understand you are saving lives. That is not a term I use flippantly. We see it every day. If we can get our hands on that, you will save lives. Any other questions?
Question from our affiliate in Orlando. They understand that you decided not to debate your opponent in the upcoming election. If that's true, why?
I don't know that that decision has been made. I will say I think it's important to keep in mind that when you are seeking the office of Attorney General, you need to do so with good faith, as someone that will, as we've discussed today, enforce the laws, because that is important. And so I would like to have discussions with those that are serious about being an Attorney General that enforces the law indeed and works with law enforcement. Thanks so much for being here today.